In part 1 of the original story of Treasure Planet, I said about the events before and after the making of Treasure Planet. But in this video I'm going to be talking about the development story of this film and what happened during the production of this film. This film is very much based off Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and while it does have its differences, there are lots of similarities to it. There's actually a great blog post that I saw by Justice, who says about the similarities and differences in Treasure Planet, and I'll leave that article down in the description down below. But basically the core of the film is the same, but the events surrounding it are just updated for modern day, and to help make sure that they kept the traditional feel of Treasure Island, they stuck to a strict 70-30 rule, which means that 70% of the film must be traditional and 30% must be sci-fi. Hence why there's a traditional looking inn and why the ship looks very traditional. But when it came to making the film itself, the team went all in with new technology. It was the first film that was entirely coloured on a computer, and 75% of this film was made up of deep canvas elements, which are basically CGI elements on a computer, with some of that 75% being made up of virtual sets. And I did do a whole dedicated video for what deep canvas is and what virtual sets are, so I'll leave that in the I button up here. And there's also a character in here that's fully CGI, he has no traditional animation parts to him. And that's Ben the robot. And just a fun fact, Martin Short, who voiced Ben, actually improvised loads of his lines, which is probably why he's so annoying. And John Silver actually had parts of him that was CGI too. His arm as well as his eye were both made out of CGI. And to test out the CGI arm, the team actually took Captain Hook from Peter Pan, they rubbed out his arm and they replaced it with a CGI arm to test it out on him. But when they weren't trying to modernise the characters by putting in CGI, they did actually try to keep a lot of the aspects of the characters the same. For example, they brought over the craziness of Ben to Treasure Planet, and they also tried to transition Jim across, but when they did do that, they found that he wasn't likeable enough. In fact, he was really unlikable. And they did have to make a lot of changes to make him more likeable. So for example, initially in the scene where Billy Bones crashes to Earth, Jim actually wasn't going to help him out at first, and he was kind of guilt-tripped into helping him out pretty much.
See you later.
You gotta help me, lad.
No, look, I'm sorry, but I just...
Please, lad.
But in the final version, as you probably know, he helps him out straight away. And there was also a fully deleted scene where Jim was working on his Solar Surfer, and this kid came up to him and started talking to Jim about his Silver Surfer. And he also showed that he was working on a scooter, and Jim said that he could help too, but when Jim saw that he was with his father, he got jealous basically and just flew off. Because he was jealous that the kid had a dad that he could do stuff with and that sort of thing.
How come you're so smart, Dad?
I guess I take after you, Ethan.
You wanna see how fast I can go?
And while this did add depth to Jim, I personally think that they probably didn't want to include it because it makes him look kind of moody and harsh. And to make the start of the film less serious, they took out a narration by adult Jim Hawkins and instead replaced it with a scene with young Jim Hawkins that's in the final film.
There are nights when the Ethereum is as calm and peaceful as a pond on the planet Pelsinor.
With that scene right at the beginning of the film actually being a scene that was made very close to the end of the production of the film. The narration version is in the description down below, and I personally think that the newer, more heartfelt version is a lot better with young Jim Hawkins. And even with all this going on, the team themselves actually seemed to work quite well together. There wasn't any big arguments or anything that I know about. And the directors worked quite well together, although they have worked on lots of films together in the past. They were apparently very funny, and they were open to ideas from the staff members for stuff to do with the film. But even with all of that, the studio still thought that Jim was a bit too harsh, and they weren't that optimistic about the film when it was going to come out in cinemas. Because ultimately they thought that the second and third act were emotionless. Even though the third act does end with a very jolly party and a really nice ending in my opinion, which was compared to an alternative ending where they were just going to be shown coming back to Earth and just basically fixing up the inn and that was it, before the camera pans to the sky. They did have a rule that no magic was allowed and that science and logic had to be in this film, but maybe that's what Disney were looking for. Maybe they were looking for a bit of magic in this film. But to be honest, I don't think Disney wanted this film to succeed anyway. And if you want to see why, watch my part 1 of the original story of Treasure Planet up in the iCard at this side up here. But that's the development story of Treasure Planet and what changed during its development. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, and like it if you want to see more original story videos. And be sure to comment down below what your thoughts are on Treasure Planet, and if you like the alternative scenes and if you think they should have been in the film and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.